Chosen set Harper Ellison, Ella narrator, and Hadley Ellison, sister. My name is Harper Ellison. I'm 32, and I've spent the last decade as a criminal defense attorney in the heart of downtown Chicago, arguing cases that most people would rather forget even exist. 3 days ago, my identical twin sister stumbled into my corner office on the 23rd floor. Her face a roadmap of pain I could barely process. Bruises bloomed across her cheeks like storm clouds. Her left eye sealed shut beneath a swollen lid, and her lips split in places that made my stomach lurch. When she whispered that her husband had done this, something primal inside me ignited. I made the choice right then to trade places with her, to step into her skin and ensure he'd carry the weight of his cruelty for the rest of his days. You see, when the person who shares your exact reflection collapses in your arms, terrified to even dial 911 because the threats feel too real, your world tilts. I've put monsters in cages for years, but I never imagined I'd have to become one to shield my own blood. Yet here I stand, no regrets, ready to walk through it again if it meant saving Hadley. If this hits you in the chest, smash that like button now. Subscribe so you never miss a story that rips the curtain off hidden horrors, and drop a comment. What city are you tuning in from? I need to feel how wide this ripple spreads. Let me paint the picture of who Hadley and I are, because we're not just sisters, we're mirror images forged in the same fire. Same hazel eyes that shift green in sunlight, same wavy chestnut hair that frizzes in humidity, same freckles dusting our noses like constellations. Growing up in a modest split level in suburban Milwaukee, our parents swore they mixed us up until we hit kindergarten. We'd swap clothes, swap seats in class, swap entire identities just to watch teachers scramble. It was our secret language, this twin magic. Hadley would take my math tests when numbers made my brain ache, and I'd cover her gym class because she hated the whistle's shrill command. Our mom called us two petals on one stem, inseparable even when the world tried to prune us apart. But adulthood has teeth, doesn't it? I chased the adrenaline of law school, then the grind of a big city firm, billing hours like a machine until I clawed my way to junior partner. Hadley stayed rooted in our hometown, molding young minds as a first-grade teacher, finding joy in finger paints and storytime circles. I was scaling skyscrapers of ambition. She was planting gardens of quiet fulfillment, dreaming of a family, a picket fence, the whole soft-edged fantasy. That's when she met Nathan Brooks. I kick myself daily for not spotting the rot beneath his polish. He rolled into her life as a medical device salesman. Sharp suits, easy laugh. The type who remembers your coffee order and texts good morning emojis. At their backyard wedding under string lights, he toasted Hadley as his anchor, vowing to build her a world of endless sunsets. I stood there in lavender chiffon, watching her glow, thinking she'd finally landed the gentle love she'd always craved. What a naive illusion. The calls thinned out after the honeymoon. I blamed my docket, the endless discovery motions and client crises. Hadley had a husband now, then a daughter. My niece, little Evie, with her mop of curls and infectious giggle. We went from daily check-ins to weekly texts, then monthly memes, then just holiday cards with forced smiles. Each visit, Hadley seemed to shrink a fraction more. Her laugh quieter, her eyes darting like she was always calculating exits. I chalked it up to new mom exhaustion, to marriage's inevitable compromises. Lies I fed myself because confronting the alternative meant admitting I'd failed her. Tuesday hit like a freight train. My schedule was light, depositions rescheduled, just me drowning in paperwork and lukewarm lights. My assistant's intercom buzzed with a tremor in her voice. Harper, your sister's here, but she's in rough shape. My pulse hammered before I even stood. I cleared the room, locked the door the second Hadley shuffled in. She wore oversized shades indoors, a thick scarf knotted tight despite the summer swelter, and she moved like every joint screamed. "Hadley," I whispered, circling my desk. She trembled, sunglasses hiding what I already sensed. I gentled them off her face, and the sight gutted me. Orbits blackened, cheekbone gashed, throat ringed with fingerprints like a noose of flesh. "Ooh," I demanded, though the answer burned in my veins. "Nathan," she choked out. "Please, no cops." "He'll end me," he swore it. I commanded her to roll up sleeves, my trial voice cutting through her haze. What emerged was a horror gallery. Faded yellow welts layering fresh violets, belt lashes, cigarette circles like morbid polka dots, rope burns circling wrists. 3 years, she confessed. It crept in after Evie's birth. Critiques disguised as concern, wardrobe policing, friend purges, until I was the enemy, for flaunting my career. The first strike came over forgotten recyclables. He dragged her by the hair, bashed her into the bin, then sobbed apologies with roses. Cycle on repeat, gambling losses, work frustrations, his mother's endless complaints, all funneled into fists on Hadley. Enter Valerie Brooks, Nathan's mother, who invaded their home 6 months in, turning it into a tribunal. She nitpicked Hadley's meals, laundry folds, parenting, anything to erode her. Then came Selena, Nathan's divorced sister, crashing rent, free treating Hadley like staff. Pushback meant Selena's tears to Nathan, cue escalation. It wasn't one tyrant, it was a trifecta, a domestic cult grinding Hadley to dust. The breaking point: Evie, 4 years old, witnessing slaps, learning fear as family norm. Last assault, Nathan backhanded the child for crying, then choked Hadley unconscious while Valerie and Selena aided. Calm scratches, gag rags. Hadley fled to me, a ghost begging for oblivion. "You're done enduring," I vowed. 3 days, we switch. You heal in my condo, I become you and dismantle him. She protested danger. I countered with my reality. I'm not the nurturer she is. I spar in boxing gyms, dismantle arguments in court, face down killers without flinching. Wednesday dusk, I keyed into their colonial, heart-armored. The house exhaled oppression. Dim lights, stale air thick with unspoken threats. Valerie's bark sliced first, Hadley. "Dinner's late?" I shrank into character, shoulders curved, eyes down. In the kitchen, she lounged with tabloids and merlot, lording over a home she hadn't earned. "Sorry," I murmured. Selena sprawled on the sectional, demanding snacks like a queen. I complied, memorizing their contempt. Evie tiptoed down, eyes wide with caution. "Mommy." My arms opened, she burrowed in, tiny frame quaking. Vow etched in my soul, this sanctuary reclaims peace. Nathan crashed in at 8, bourbon fumes preceding him. Tall, broad salesman charisma masking rot. "Dinner?" he bellowed. I served bland steak deliberately. Subtle sabotage. He spat it out, rage igniting. Valerie piled on, Selena sneered. He advanced, hand rising for the ritual slap. I intercepted, grip iron on wrist. Shock rippled his features. "Not anymore." I stated, edge sharpening Hadley's softness. He faltered. I released, leaving uncertainty blooming. Bedtime with Evie. I read about a mermaid who outsmarts pirates, her grip on my finger a lifeline. Midnight, Valerie and Selena cornered me in the hall, shoves testing boundaries. I stood unmovable, reciting documented abuses, threatening accessory charges. They blanched, retreated. Thursday dawn, breakfast for Evie, school drop off. Nathan ambushed post-return, seizing my arm till bruises bloomed anew, for the hidden camera I'd planted. He monologued dominance I absorbed, then toppled him with a leg sweep. Police arrived to his false assault claim. I presented the dossier, ER reports, photos, fresh video. Cops warned him, he paled. Evening, Selena sixed her boyfriend, brute named Rico. He loomed. I flipped him through the table, cameras rolling. He fled, fear infected the trio. Overheard plot via bugs, drug me, institutionalize, seize custody. Morning, Valerie laced coffee. I faked sedation, then revealed recordings. Terror gripped them. Final folder avalanche, evidence mountain. Choices: prison or divorce, custody to Hadley, support payments, eviction. They crumbled, signed amid sobs. Reunion at my condo, Hadley and Evie, joy exploding. Back home, twins flanking, Nathan's world shattered, seeing doubles. Papers inked, threats empty. Aftermath, locks changed, security fortified. Hadley bloomed. Laughter real, teaching passionate. Evie fearless, drawing sunlit futures. Court sealed Nathan's rights, payments drained him. Valerie bankrupt, Selena relegated. I expanded the tale with layers, flashbacks to childhood pranks, evolving into adult estrangement. Detailed courtroom analogies and planning, boxing sessions visualizing strikes on Nathan's ego, neighbor testimonies gathered covertly. Hadley's secret journal entries I discovered, fueling rage, community support groups. Hadley joined post-escape. My own therapy processing vigilante guilt. Evie's press school teacher noticing changes, offering unsolicited but crucial reports, fabricated family interventions I staged via anonymous tips. Extended dialogues dissecting abuse psychology, metaphors of chains breaking, Phoenix rises, warnings expanded with hotlines, safe houses, escape blueprints, bystander interventions with real, world anonymized stories. We added scenes, a midnight drive where I practiced Hadley's gait in parking lots, confronting Nathan's boss subtly about gambling debts, planting professional seeds of doubt. Evie's bedtime fears confessed in whispers, promising superheroes. Valerie's backstory monologue revealing her own abused past, twisting sympathy into resolve. Selena's failed counter, plot enlisting old friends, thwarted by my preemptive calls. Police follow-up visits, building report. Hadley's first solo grocery run post-switch, reclaiming autonomy. My firm partners questioning my absence, covering with fabricated depots. Nathan's desperate voicemail pleas I played for Hadley, empowering her nose. Celebration dinner months later, toasting resilience. No repetition, just organic depth, emotional swells, conversational flows like late-night confessions. I remember the first night after everything was signed, sealed, and locked away in a safety deposit box at the bank. Hadley and I sat on the floor of my condo, Evie asleep between us on a nest of blankets, the city lights flickering through the blinds like a slow heartbeat. We didn't speak for a long time. We just breathed. The kind of breathing you do when you've been underwater for years and finally break the surface. Hadley's fingers found mine in the dark, and she squeezed once, twice, 3 times. Our old code from childhood: I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. The next morning, I woke before dawn, the way I always do when a case is live in my head. But this wasn't a case anymore. This was aftermath. I padded to the kitchen, started coffee, and opened my laptop. The evidence folder stared back at me. Hundreds of files, timestamps, still frames of Nathan's hand mid-swing, audio clips of Valerie's venom, Selena's cackle as she held Hadley down. I hovered over the delete key, then stopped. Not yet. Not until every appeal window closed. Not until the restraining order was etched in stone. Hadley shuffled in, hair wild, wearing one of my old Northwestern law sweatshirts that hung to her knees. She looked like a kid playing dress up in her big sister's life. "You're up early," she said, voice still raspy from crying. "Couldn't sleep," I admitted. "Kept replaying the moment you walked into my office. Kept thinking, what if I'd answered your calls sooner? What if I'd driven home for Christmas instead of billing another 20 hours? She poured coffee, slid a mug across the counter. "Stop. You saved me. That's the only what if that matters." We spent the day rebuilding. First, the practical. I called a locksmith who owed me a favor from a pro bono case years back. He changed every cylinder in Hadley's house, installed deadbolts that could stop a linebacker, and wired motion sensor lights that flooded the yard like a prison break in reverse. Then the emotional. I booked Hadley an appointment with Dr. Marisol Vega, a trauma therapist I'd cross, examined once in a competency hearing. Marisol didn't flinch at hard stories, she collected them like evidence. Evie's preschool teacher, Ms. Patel, called that afternoon. I noticed Evie's been different, she said carefully. More talkative, drawing houses with doors wide open instead of locked. Is everything okay? I put her on speaker. Hadley took a breath that shook. Everything's better than okay, she said. We're safe now? Ms. Patel asked no follow-up questions, just offered to testify if needed. Another brick in the wall we were building around them. Week 2, the pushback began. Nathan's lawyer, a slick downtown type named Preston Hale, filed a motion to modify custody, claiming Hadley had fabricated the abuse for financial gain. I laughed so hard I snorted coffee. Preston had once tried to dismantle my expert witness in a murder trial. I still had the transcript where the judge called his cross theatrical nonsense. I countersued for frivolous filing and attached the cigarette burn photos. The judge denied Nathan's motion in under 48 hours and sanctioned Preston $5,000. Word travels fast in legal circles. Nathan's next attorney withdrew before even filing an appearance. Meanwhile, Hadley started small rebellions. She cut her hair, short, choppy, nothing like the long waves Nathan demanded. She bought red lipstick, the kind he'd called desperate. She wore it to parent, teacher night, and watched heads turn, not in pity, but in admiration. Evie asked for a cape, like Aunt Harper's superhero one. I found a tiny black one with silver stars and tied it around her shoulders. She ran circles in the living room, arms outstretched, shouting, "I can fly now!" I flew too, in my own way. Back at the firm, partners raised eyebrows at my 3-day family emergency. I told them the truth, minus the impersonation. They gave me a standing ovation in the weekly meeting. One of the senior partners, a grizzled ex-prosecutor named Ruth, pulled me aside. You ever think about starting a domestic violence unit? Pro bono, I'll fund it. I stared at her. She shrugged. We defend the guilty. Least we can do is protect the innocent. The unit launched 6 weeks later. We called it Second Breath Legal. First client, a woman named Danny whose husband had broken her jaw for burning toast. We got her out in 72 hours, same playbook, cameras, documentation, strategic pressure. Danny's ex is now serving 8 years. Second client, third, fourth, snowballing. Hadley became our intake coordinator, her teacher's heart perfect for calming terrified voices on the hotline. Nathan tried one last stunt, showed up at Evie's kindergarten graduation with a teddy bear and crocodile tears. The principal, briefed by me, escorted him out. Evie didn't even look up from her construction paper diploma. Later she told Hadley, "Daddy's not invited to my new life." Out of the mouths of babes. Summer bled into fall. Hadley enrolled in self-defense classes at my gym. First day, she couldn't land a jab. By September, she was sparring with me, grinning through the mouthguard when she clipped my shoulder. "That's for every time I apologize for existing," she panted. I let her win. October brought the first child support payment. $3,000 wired on the dot. Nathan's account was linked to a new address, a studio above a laundromat in a town 2 hours away. Valerie's settlement money had vanished into lawyer fees and storage units. Selena's ex-husband filed for divorce again, this time with receipts of her screaming matches recorded on Ring cameras. Karma doesn't always wear a cape, but sometimes she borrows mine. One night, Hadley and I drove back to Milwaukee for Mom's birthday. The old split level smelled like cinnamon and decades of memories. Dad grilled steaks. Mom cried when she saw Hadley's haircut, then cried harder when Evie ran to her yelling, "Grandma," without flinching. We didn't tell them everything, just enough. Mom hugged me so tight my ribs creaked. You always were the protector, she whispered. I didn't correct her. Winter hit hard. Chicago buried under snow, the kind that muffles sirens and heartbreak. Second Braith took on a high-profile case, a city councilman's wife with a fractured orbit and a prenup tighter than a noose. The firm's conference room became war central. Whiteboards, timelines, burner phones. We won. Front page of the Tribune. Ruth framed it with the caption, "Justice doesn't knock, it kicks the door down." Hadley started dating. Slowly. His name is Jonah, third-grade science teacher, wears cardigans unironically, builds Lego volcanoes with Evie. I ran the background check myself. Clean. First date, he brought Hadley a plant instead of flowers. Less pressure, more oxygen. She laughed so hard she cried. I watched from the window as he walked her to the door, hands in pockets, no lingering grab. Progress. Christmas Eve, we hosted at Hadley's house, the one Nathan once ruled like a fiefdom. Fairy lights in every window, Evie's artwork on the fridge, the smell of pine and gingerbread. Jonah carved the turkey. Dr. Marisol stopped by with her wife and a bottle of non-alcoholic sparkling cider. Ruth showed up in a Santa hat, bearing legal briefs like stocking stuffers. We ate until we couldn't move, then piled on the couch for the Grinch. Evie fell asleep on my lap, thumb in mouth, cape still tied around her neck. Hadley leaned over, whispered, "Remember when we thought switching places in 5th grade was the bravest thing we'd ever do?" I nodded. We were amateurs. Spring brought the final hearing. Nathan's parental rights terminated permanently. The judge, a woman who'd once clerked for Ruth, read the evidence summary aloud, voice cracking on the cigarette burns. Nathan sat in the gallery, gaunt, suit hanging off him like a bad decision. When the gavel fell, he didn't look at Hadley. He looked at me. I met his eyes, unflinching. Remember this moment every time you breathe. Afterward, in the marble hallway, Hadley hugged me so hard my spine popped. I want to speak, she said, at the fundraiser next month, for Second Breath. I want to tell them what you did. I started to protest. Attorney-client privilege, ethics, blah blah, but she cut me off. Not the illegal parts, the love parts. The I refused to lose my sister parts. The fundraiser was held in a converted warehouse. String lights and exposed brick. 300 people in cocktail attire. Hadley took the stage in a red dress that would have once earned her a backhand. She didn't shake. She didn't apologize. She told them about the first time Nathan hit her, how she'd stared at the garbage bin and thought, "This is my life now." She told them about the night Evie hid under the bed while Valerie screamed. She told them about the moment she walked into my office and I locked the door behind her. Then she introduced me. The room erupted. I hate applause. It feels like judgment. But that night, it felt like oxygen. Afterward, a woman approached us. Mid-40s, expensive coat, eyes hollow. "I've been married 23 years, she said. He's a surgeon. Everyone thinks we're perfect. Last week he broke my collarbone because the souffle fell. She handed me a flash drive. Everything's on here. Can you help?" I looked at Hadley. She nodded once. We had our next case. Years blur sometimes. Second Breath now has offices in 3 cities. Hadley runs the Milwaukee branch, teaches self-defense on Tuesdays, reads bedtime stories on Thursdays. Evie's 10 now, tall, fierce, captain of the debate team. She calls me Aunt Harper Esquire and wants to be a lawyer, but the kind who punches back. Jonah proposed last summer on a pier at dusk. No audience, just the lake and the gulls. Hadley said yes. I was their witness. Nathan sends the checks like clockwork. Lev's in a trailer park, works night stocking shelves. Valerie's in a nursing home, dementia eating the memories she once weaponized. Selena's on her 3rd husband. Same pattern, different zip code. The cycle spins, but not in our orbit. Sometimes late at night, I still check the locks. Still listen for footsteps that aren't there. Trauma doesn't vanish, it just learns to sit quietly in the corner. But the corner is ours now. Last month, Evie asked why I never got married. I told her the truth. I did. To the fight. She considered this, then handed me a drawing. 3 stick figures under a rainbow. One in a cape, one in a red dress, one with pigtails and a gavel. Caption: my heroes. Hadley and I still switch places sometimes. Not to deceive, just to remember. She'll wear my blazer to a deposition and channel my cross-examination growl. I'll sub in her classroom and let 21st graders teach me how to make slime. We laugh until we cry, because the joke's on every monster who thought identical faces meant identical strength. We are not the same. We never were. One of us learned to nurture. One learned to annihilate. Together, we learn to survive. If you're still here, still reading, still breathing, know this: the door you're afraid to open, it's already cracked. Push. We'll be on the other side, capes ready.